Hey, this episode is brought to you by Bob's Containers. Bob's Containers is the leader in shipping container housing, modular solutions, and more. It's a no-brainer with Bob's Containers. Turn your backyard into a profitable machine with a quick Airbnb, a backyard office, or something more. We also make shipping container offices, container restrooms, laboratories, anything you can dream of. We'll containerize a solution for you. So check us out at bobscontainers.com or give us a call, 833-265-3269. Thanks.
This episode is brought to you by Vineyard Sun. Vineyard Sun is a local Austin company that makes quality sunglasses made from sustainable materials. You can see their styles on vineyardsun.com or follow them on Instagram at vineyard_sun.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Moontower Business Podcast. This is your host, Joseph Obel. And today I have the pleasure of speaking to Eric Langan, who is the CEO of RCI Hospitality Holdings, Inc., NASDAQ ticker RIC. Eric, welcome back to the podcast. How you doing?
Hey, doing good, Joseph. How are you?
Good. Glad to have you back on the podcast. We had you back on the podcast back in June of 2022. A lot's been going on since then. It's a crazy market. We were just chatting a little bit about it before we started recording. And I'd like to just ask you to maybe kind of give an update on what's been going on with the company, what's transpired, and what are we looking forward to in the future?
Well, we've got VCG running the big acquisition we did in 21, running ship shape now with about 17 plus million in EBITDA on a trailing 12-month basis through June 30th. So very excited about that. I don't know if you recall, but basically bought that at 14 and predicted that we would, exceed 17. We have done that as predicted. We just closed a big acquisition in March in Dallas, about another $66.5 million acquisition. That'll add somewhere around 11 million, I think, the first year. And I think we'll get that up to about 14 million in EBITDA over the next 2 years. So that'll be a really nice acquisition for us. Well, included a bunch of real estate with that one and the first one. So we also picked up, some great pieces of real estate with that. And then, of course, we're working on the casinos out in Colorado. We're getting closer and closer. I think I'm optimistic that we're open by this summer at the latest. I'd like to see us open April, May, but I think, worst case is probably this summer. But we're waiting on gaming. I mean, it's out of our control. We can't really control when we open that location because we have to wait for the Colorado Gaming Division to approve all the permits, basically. So once all that licensing is done, they're doing background checks and they're doing all their due diligence on our company. But I think once they get done with that, we'll get started pretty quick.
And what is that process been like, I guess? And then what is that facility going to look like at the end of the day?
It's been a long process. Obviously, we started trying to buy the property all the way back in early 2022. We finally got the property closed in December of 22. So or was it 21? I don't know. It may have been 21. It's been so long, I don't know. I'm confusing myself right now trying to think back that far. It's been a long process though, but gaming always is. We knew that when going in, and we were told ahead of time that it would be a long process. But the plans are great. We're probably weeks from the building permit for the first casino. We're getting ready to submit plans within a couple of weeks for the second casino. We've been through the permitting process now with the city. And so we think the second one will be much smoother. We've got a much better idea of what they use a third-party company to do all the plan reviews. Or we built a relationship. We kind of understand what they want and what they expect. And we've got some great architects and engineers on that project now. So I think the second one will go much faster and smoother than the first one, obviously. And so we'll open probably within a month of each other. Even though we started the second one much later, we think we can probably get them open within about a month of each other.
Gotcha. You have over 60 nightclubs and sports bars kind of spread out all over. What would you say has kind of been the most popular and most successful to date?
Oh, well, I mean, Miami's one of our best markets for sure. We have 4 clubs in that market with 4 completely different demographic that we cater to. Of course, Tootsie's being one of the largest clubs in the world. I think with the new expansion, it's probably over 80,000 square feet under roof now. VIP, it's open 18 hours a day. It's just an incredible facility. We just had the big fight. We get about 2,500 people in there. It's just a very electric atmosphere. New York's a great market for us. Chicago, Minneapolis. I'm probably forgetting a bunch. Of course, we're huge in Texas as well. So we're basically in every major city and a bunch of out cities as well, like Odessa, Texas, and Lubbock, and whatnot. So we're very excited about the future. I mean, things are going very well. We've got we're fighting the slowdown from the economy and a few little changes, and of course our stock's getting really beat up right now, well under $60 now, which I'm very surprised by. I really thought we probably hold in the $70 to $80 range on the downside, and then get back up. And we hit a high of like 97 in January. But it's been a tough year for small caps and hospitality, and of course we're a small cap hospitality company, so I think we're getting a little bit from both ends right now. But we've used our capital allocation strategy. Our free cash flow yields over 10%. We buy back stock in the open market, so slowly we'll be decreasing our share counts and increasing free cash flow per share for our shareholders.
And I read you had was 31 consecutive quarterly cash dividends paid out.
Yes, we started our cash dividend in 2015, and we paid every quarter. We've raised it on average, I think, just over 10% a year. And in fact, we had a dividend that was just paid out on the 29th of September, so less than a week ago, at 6 cents per share. So, it's not part of our capital allocation strategy, but I think it's a good way to reward long-term shareholders. And I think a lot of people use the drip to buy more shares with their dividends. So slowly increases ownership by people that already loyal to the company. So we like that part a lot.
Awesome. Speaking of shareholders, you had a annual shareholders meeting August 28th of this year. Can you talk a little bit about that, kind of the stuff that was discussed, and what do those look like nowadays? Back in the day, people showed up in person. I know a lot of these are over the phone. How was that meeting in particular?
Well, we did it in person, and we did have several shareholders that came to the meeting. It's nice. We get to get some one-on-one time and discuss, the company and the past year. Go over where the company's at and where we think we're headed. And basically, very similar to an earnings call. The formal part of the meeting is kind of boring, right? We read some scripts, we elect some officers, and give some officially get the results on record from the shareholder votes, and basically, I think we had some donuts and kolaches and had a good time talking with shareholders.
That's great. I know you've done some earnings calls in the past on Twitter, which is now X. On Spaces, and those have been great. I know you've had good turnouts, and it's a great way for shareholders to have access to listen to what's going on with the company. Do you have any future plans to do that again?
Yeah, we have no, at this time, all of our earnings calls are scheduled for X. I have no intention of changing that unless something happens, and it's not a viable option for us anymore. To me, we reach a lot more people. We get to reach a lot more of our retail shareholders. The institutional guys can get in, and the institutional guys have pretty good access to us anyway. But through my Twitter account, at Rick CEO, everyone has the same access. So I talk to a lot of shareholders, a lot of potential shareholders through my X account, and I'm very thankful that Elon's kept it very affordable for us, and it seems like getting more and more engagement on the site basically every day. It's a fun journey, and I enjoy it too. I mean, it's a lot of fun just getting out there and just sometimes you're talking trash and sometimes you're talking business. And, I did a big dating profile as I broke up with my girlfriend in May. And so one of our guys said, "Hey, you should do a Hinge profile." So I did it. And I was like, "Oh man, I'm horrible at this dating stuff online, right? I'm a little old for this." And so I crowdsourced my dating app and my profile, and it was a lot of fun. There were some great comments, and people got to poke a little fun at me, and then you can get me set up right. But I think I don't think I'm going to move too forward with dating online. But it has been a fun experience.
That's cool that you engage with followers on Twitter or X now. I think it's cool to be able to kind of see what's going on. And so, what's your follower count now on X?
12,200, I think. So
nice.
It's growing slow. I've only been on for a short period of time, and there's a big gap in the middle. So I was on for 4 or 5 months, and then kind of just got busy and didn't really keep up with it. And then I've been back on since I think August 14th or August 18th. I've been back on, and I had about 8,000 followers when I got back on in August. Now I'm a little over 12,000. So got a couple of viral posts. I talked about my journey as a pilot and my first airplane. Pictures of my first airplane, some of the other airplanes we've owned. And that thread did pretty good for us, or for me, I should say. And it's been a lot of fun. Met a lot of pilots, which is great. I'm surprised there was so many pilots on X as well. And that's the beauty of X. I mean, you can have niche communities and really discuss and find like-minded people, and as well as it's not just people call it the town square. I said it's not just the town square; it's the back alleys too, right? If you want to go down this street and talk about people about airplanes, there's a nice little group over there. You can go talk about airplanes. If you want to, go talk about business, you can talk about business. If you want to talk politics, well, good luck. But because there's just too many people on the politics side, but it's fun too. If you want to get engagement, you can be a little controversial and post a little something on politics, and you can definitely get a lot of exposure to your brand that way. You just got to be careful not to get yourself canceled, right?
No doubt. You talked about the share price a little bit earlier. I mean, the market's in a crazy condition right now. I mean, a lot of the stocks are down right now. What's your take on that? What are you seeing in the market, and what does the short-term future look like, you think?
Well, I think that's the real problem. How do you forecast, right? Are we in a recession? Are we not in a recession? It's definitely a slowdown. We've seen that in our blue-collar customer, and then we've changed our MO a little bit and got that customer back in, maybe not spending as much money, but we've got more of them now. So we're kind of making up for it. Then we saw, the vacations. Oh my gosh, this summer, you saw a lot of major top brands in the U.S. to really suffer, I think, because everybody went to Europe and Africa and the Mediterranean and the Caribbean. And, we've been stuck home for 3 years. And so everybody left the country at the same time, it seemed like, especially your high-end spenders that's really what we saw missing throughout the summer. School started back up. We're starting to see that customer back in. If we follow typical, this was typical pre-COVID. Summers were always slower because people vacationed and our big customers. The problem is you got a guy comes in and spends, $5,000 to $20,000. It takes a lot of $1,500 guys to make up for that one guy.
Yeah.
And they're on vacation too, right? Your $1,500 customer, they're camping and they're fishing and they're hiking in the mountains and visiting family. So summers typically have been slower for us. The last few years that was not the case. Summers were actually busier for us post COVID. But I think we're going to more return to normal, right? Interest rates are returning back to a more normalized historic level, and I think everything's going to level out, and the free money's gone. So, people are going to have to work again for a living, and we're no exception to that. And it's hard to predict. So the market hates uncertainty. And, how do we predict where we're going to be at, even 6 months from now. And I think that's kind of the problem, especially in hospitality, is are people going to stop eating out as much? Are they going to, I call it flight to quality. When we hit recessionary deals, flight to quality. And so we're number one in a lot of our markets. We have the number one club. So those particular clubs are actually seeing, stronger sales right now, which is why I think if we're not in a recession, we're very, very close, or, even if it's a psychological recession, not a true, defined, U.S. government defined recession. I've been calling a psychological recession for about 7-8 months now. Since May, I guess that's only 5 months. So about 5 months now, because we saw a slight downturn in about mid-May that increased through June and into July. And now August, September, we're starting to see improvements in overall. We saw the blue collar start a little earlier than that, probably as early as February for the blue collar customer base. But we saw it stabilize, through June, right when our white collar or high end customer base, the big VIP spend, or the whales as the casino calls them, we've seen that spend start to drop. We had stabilized our blue collar spend, and I think now we're starting to see everything stabilized and seeing sequential return of sequential business through August and September, and I'm optimistic we're going to see that continue through the end of the year, probably all the way through May when we get hit again next summer.
So football just started again, and baseball's kind of getting into the playoffs here. Are you seeing more activity at your nightclubs and your sports bars for folks going in there and watching sports?
Oh yeah, and after the games too. We've got some great clubs. Home games in Denver, Minneapolis, Miami. Even New York, those home games help us a lot. Obviously, football, fantasy sports is great. Sports betting, people are betting online in a lot of our markets now, and they place their bets from their phones, and they're able to sit in the sports bar or restaurant or the club and watch the games and watch their action on their sports bets. So that's been good for business as well. So, and the Astros. In the American League again this year. So that's always great for us. Bombshells has 8 locations in Houston. We're getting ready to open the 9th one in about 3 weeks. So all Houston sports, when Houston sports are good, they're good for us for sure.
That's awesome. I'm based in Austin. I think there's Bombshells. I know there's one in the Austin area, maybe Round Rock.
Yeah, it's Pflugerville actually up there, just like 2 exits south of Round Rock. And we're in the process of building one off of 183. I think it's Burnett Road or somewhere in that area over there. I'm not 100% familiar. I've been up there, but I can't remember Austin very well. I lived there. I lived in Austin in 1991 for 6 months, and that's about my extent of Austin. So,
gotcha. There's also a Rick's in that border area between Round Rock and Pflugerville. I think
Round Rock. Rick's is in Round Rock, and Foxy's is basically in Round Rock area up there. It's actually in the county, but it's in Travis County, but it's right there in Round Rock. And then, of course, we have the XTC over there on the east side, off of 183 and 290, kind of right there.
Yeah, awesome, excellent. Well, I want to switch gears a little bit. I did read that thread you posted on X about you being a pilot and kind of your journey through that. I was hoping maybe you can kind of share with listeners a little bit about that journey for you and what got you interested in aviation. How did you start flying and kind of how's that evolved over time? Well,
I had probably about 100 speeding tickets in 1990, 1991. And my lawyer said, look, I'm good, but you're going to lose your license. You need to go buy an airplane. Quit. You can't do this drive. I had a triangular drive from Austin to Arlington, Texas, to Longview, Texas. And I was making that drive 3 times a week. And usually at, 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning after the club's closed. And so, of course, it's late at night. There's nobody on the highways. You're driving and, speed traps everywhere between Longview and Arlington and on I-35 there coming back down to Austin. So, as you can imagine, I had a lot of speeding tickets. So I bought an airplane and went to a flight school thinking it was like driver's ed, right? I'm going to walk in here, pay them $300, $400, whatever. In 2 weeks, I'm going to be flying an airplane, no problem. You know, when you're 20 some years old and you think everything's easy. So I walked in, I met the kid at the counter, and he's like, yeah, it's going to cost $30,000 and take 8 months for me to teach you how to fly that airplane safely. I was like, man, I don't have 8 months. I have 2 weeks, man. And so we started talking. I liked him. I said, well, how much money do you make? And he's like, oh, about 14,000 a year. I said, can you fly that airplane that I just bought? And he goes, yeah, I can fly you around in that airplane. I'm like, I'll give you $18,000. Come work for me. Come fly me around.
Nice.
And that's how I met the vice president of our company today. Travis been with me since 91, I think.
Was that in Houston where you learned how to fly?
That was in Austin, actually. That's the 6 months I lived in Austin. Yeah.
Okay.
So I met him at the flight school at the old airport there, downtown. I forgot the name of it now.
Mueller?
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, they had a little flight school there that I went in and met him at. So we, that first plane was a Piper Aztec. Had that for a while. Then bought a Beechcraft Duke. We had the Duke for a period of time. Then we went into a Eclipse jet. We bought our first jet. Oh gosh, I don't know, it was a long time ago now. We had the little Eclipse jet for a while. Then we bought a Citation Mustang, Citation M2, and then now the CJ4 that we fly today. And then since the CJ4 is more of a long range plane, we have a Vision jet, which is a little single engine jet, great for 600-mile hops, which bounces all around Texas pretty easily. At a much more economical rate than the CJ, and I'm type rated in both those aircraft. I'm single pilot rated in the CJ4, and I just asked myself when I got my license about 14 years ago now, and I think, why the hell didn't I get my license in that first plane? The freedom of jumping in an airplane. I mean, think about when you're 16 years old and you get your wheels for the first time, right? You get those car keys and you want to go to your buddy's house and bam, you just jump in the car and go. It's that type of freedom. Only the difference is my world is 2,100 miles. I can get anywhere 2,100 miles from where I'm at. And I want to go right now. I can be at the airport in 22 minutes, be in the air probably within 30, and be in New York in 2 hours and 20 minutes after that. So within 3 hours from right now, I just up and decided I can be in New York City. I can be in Denver in 2.5 hours. I can be in Miami in 2.5 hours. It's amazing. If I wanted to be in Dallas or Austin, I can be in Austin probably 45, 50 minutes from right now. If I jumped up and ran to the airport and flew straight there. So, I mean, that type of freedom is incredible. And for business, it's there's nothing that compares to it, right? Going to get ready, pack, go drive to the airport, go through security, sit at the gate and wait, get on your plane. Finally, they fly you there. You get off the plane, go get your bags at baggage check. To go to Austin, I can drive to Austin faster than I can fly to Austin right now and get, if I check a bag, right?
100%.
So it's that type of freedom. I can fly to Austin, eat lunch, and be back in Houston faster than most people can just drive to Austin right now.
Yep.
So, from a business standpoint, if I need to have business meetings or, from acquisition standpoint for our growth, I mean, I fly a couple times a month to new markets or, go meet with club owners who are interested in selling their clubs, look at their properties. We scout the properties for the new Bombshells locations. The planes are just an unbelievable tool for that, and still let you have a little quality of life, right? I mean, everybody says, well, you could grow the company on commercial airlines. I said, yeah, but it'd be a much slower pace because my quality of life would be so low that I would not be motivated like I am, to go make all these things happen.
My understanding of that is buying an airplane for a company could potentially be a good investment. I worked for a firm. I'm an attorney. I worked for a law firm before, and the firm had a few airplanes, and I know there was some type of tax break you can get for buying an airplane. I don't know if it was new or used, or you could depreciate it. there was some benefit to it.
The bonus and accelerated depreciation made flying free for a while. When you had a 35% tax rate and you were able to write off 50% the first year, 25% the next two, and you just trade your plane in every 3 years, your real cost is whatever capital gains tax you were paying at the end of 3 years. But you were deferring so much other tax, or just eliminating so much other tax through the depreciation that now that corporate income tax is 20%, capital gains 20%, it's not as beneficial. And of course, we've had the same plane now since those are now was 100%. Then it's slowly getting longer and longer, less and less that you can write off fast. So we've kept the same plane. I think we've had the CJ now. I think this is year number 6 for the CJ for us. So plus there's
nice.
a possibility to get them also. I mean, we looked at the new CJ for a while because right before the tax benefit was going to end, but there was no way to take delivery of one because they're like 27 or 29 months out on delivery. So
wow. So you started on a propeller plane and now you're on a jet. Talk about the difference in flying the two. I'm sure it's a big difference.
Well, the big difference is, of course, speed and safety, right? I mean, you're in a single engine prop plane and that engine goes out, you're landing no matter what, and not necessarily where you intended to land. The beauty of the jet, the CJ4, 2 engines that can fly single engine. If you lose an engine, you just, depending on the circumstance of it, you turn around and come back and land at the airport, or you just fly to your destination and land, whatever. Typically I'm landing if I only have one engine at the next airport. You don't always have to, but I'm going to. It's always safety first. One of the things I always laugh about is people say, is it safe to fly with you? I mean, you're really a pilot? And I'm like, well, nobody wants me alive more than me. So that's all you have to remember. I do a lot of training. I go twice a year in each plane every 6 months. Do a 3-day refresher course, all active motion sims and in airplane training. The Vision Jet is an unbelievable airplane. Has a parachute, so you lose an engine, you can pull the parachute and you glide down. It also now, the new version we just bought, the 2nd gen, has a feature called Safe Land. And something happens to your pilot, anybody in the plane can push that button. The plane will literally fly to the closest airport of the right size, avoid weather, terrain, everything it needs to avoid, and traffic, and land that airplane and stop it on the runway.
That's wild.
So, yeah. You only seen it in videos, and I hope I never see it in real life because I have no desire to be incapacitated to the point where I'm pushing that button. And of course, I'll probably be incapacitated, so I probably wouldn't see it anyway. But I have no desire to practice that. But like I said, I've seen the videos and seen the testing process, and it's an incredible feature from a safety standpoint, and probably one of the hottest selling aircraft out right now.
I've flown the Cirrus SR-22 single engine plane that also has a parachute, and I've seen the videos of that. Actually, for our conversation today, this is my coffee mug.
Hey, all right. Perfect.
So I'm not a pilot, but I used to. Yeah.
I just finished my Vision Jet flight training up in Knoxville on the 26th and 27th. Just did 2. I went up there in May and got sick. I got food poisoning, so I did 1 day of training and then got food poisoning and couldn't finish. Had to come home and ended up in the ER about a week later from bacteria growing in my stomach from the food poisoning. But so I just went back and finished. It is a fun plane to fly. The beauty of the Vision Jet, it's a great, easy step up from that SR-22. It flies exactly the same. You don't really. The only difference is how the nose reacts because the engine's up on top. So when you pull the power too hard or too slow, the nose dips or comes up a little bit. But once you get used to that, I don't think there's much difference in the flight characteristics between the SR-22 and the Vision Jet. They did an unbelievable job of making a super easy plane to fly. Nice.
Most pilots I know have a crazy story about something happened in the air. Do you have any wild stories of your time as a pilot?
Yeah, sure. Well, the craziest one, I was flying into San Antonio. I had a couple of kids in the back. I was moving one of my regional managers, and so his kids were in the plane with us. We were flying into San Antonio. I put the gear down, and as I'm coming in on approach, and I'm only getting 2 green lights, I'm like, nose gear, what's going on? And so, of course, when I get to a certain altitude, all the warning bells start going off, and this plane screaming. The kids are now starting to scream and cry in the back. They're panicky, and don't know what's going on because the plane it's really loud in that cockpit and even in the cabin when you don't have the landing gear and you're below like 500 feet of altitude. And so I called the tower and I said, "Hey, I don't know if my nose gear's down. I'd like to do a low approach through here. Can you guys take a look? Tell me if you see a wheel or not. And I'd like to circle back around and land on the alternate runway so that if it's not down, I don't close your airport down." And so I buzzed the tower, and he said, "Well, I can't tell you it's locked, but I did see the wheel. We do see a wheel." I said, "All right, well, that's a good start." He said, "We're going to, if you don't mind, we're going to go ahead and put the call emergency services out. They need the practice." I was like, "Ah, cool. I don't care." Of course, the kid's mother is at the FBO at the end of that runway. And she sees us fly over, and I'm sure she's freaking out, like, what are they doing? Because we didn't land, right? We just flew over the airport and then we circle back around. And as we come down and land on the other runway, the fire trucks and ambulances and everything are chasing the airplane all the way down the runway.
Oh man.
So it's like she's like trying to run out of the to the plane to see what's wrong with my kids. So it was a pretty crazy time. But my best story, I was a brand new pilot. We just bought a Cessna Corvallis for my instrument training. I was not instrument rated yet. And I'd met a girl in Las Vegas and needed to get flight time in. And so I flew to Gadsden, Alabama to go spend 3 days, hang out with this girl and whatnot. And I get back in the airplane and I'm on my way to Dallas. I can't remember what was going on, a grand opening or something in the Dallas market. And as I'm taking off, right before I take off, I get a text message from my buddy saying, "Hey, pick me up in San Antonio." All right, I'll change in air. I'm already getting ready to taxi out. I'll just change my deal in air, so I'll come pick you up. So I take off out of Gadsden, Alabama, call up, I get up a ways, I call and say, "Hey, I would like to change my destination to San Antonio, Texas. I'm going to go pick up a buddy." And they said, "Okay, no problem." I land in San Antonio, and they hold me on the runway behind this Southwest jet forever, saying, let that jet push out, and then you can go. So I'm sitting there. I mean, man, it's probably now about 5 minutes. And I was being patient, but, you ever sit on the ground, the AC doesn't work very well. And San Antonio was about 100 degrees that day, so it was getting hot in the cockpit. So I called up the tower and said, "Look, man, what's going on here, man? This guy's not going to I could have been behind this guy, could have went to the FBO and came back. What's going on?" "Oh, I'm sorry, they had a delay. I forgot to tell you. Taxi to parking, I was like, all right. So I pull up, I shut the plane off, and I get surrounded by about, 20 cop cars, DA. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And so I open up the door, and an FAA examiner walks up to the plane. He says, "Hi, can I search your airplane?" I'm like, what's going on? I don't want to say yes yet. I know I can't tell him no, right? Because then your pilot license is suspended immediately. So I know I can't tell him no, but give me a little information. What's going on here? And so I was like, "Look, man, this plane's brand new. It had 19 hours on it, maybe, I think, or 14 hours. I said, "Look, I'll let you guys go through this airplane and you can take it apart, but I'm calling a mechanic. You want anything taken apart, we're getting a mechanic out here. But I'm not telling you can't go through the airplane, but there's going to be, there's going to be regulation. This is a brand new airplane, not getting it ripped apart by these guys." And he goes, "No, I won't let them tear it apart. But we do need to see in the baggage compartment, whatnot." And I was like, okay. So the DA agent comes up. I start talking to him, and I'm like, "If you guys tell me what you're looking for, man, I'll help you out. But I promise you, you got the wrong guy. I don't know what the deal is." I said, "Look, man, I'm a brand new pilot. This is a brand new airplane. Please don't tear up my airplane." Same thing. I'll get somebody out here if you want to take something apart. You want to take panels, but I promise you, there's nothing in this airplane. He goes, no, we're looking for something very specific. If you'll open up your baggage compartment, we'll know if you're the guy or not. I was like, okay. I opened up my baggage compartment. Of course, my suitcase in there. And I was like, look, there's nothing there but some dirty clothes. I told him, I said, look, I went to see this girl in Gaston. I don't know her that well, but, she was a cool chick. Well, and he's like, no. We raided 3 drug labs in Gaston, and we didn't get the money. There was no money. So they got the cash out. Somehow they got tipped off and they got the cash out. We thought you were the mule because you're a new pilot and you're a new airplane. We thought they talked you into flying up here and getting their money for them or something. I'm like, no, man, I'm in the strip club business, buddy. Here's my cards. I said, see that guy over there? That's one of my managers. He's hiding inside right there because he was walking out when you guys pulled up, and he ran back in.
Oh shit! So they were probably tracking you the entire time, and then you switched.
Oh, they were tracking the whole flight. Yeah. Well, the problem was they all went to Dallas. I filed to Dallas, so they left. They were in Harlingen. They left Harlingen and flew to Dallas, and they had to hold me up because they had to. When I diverted, they had to divert and come down to San Antonio.
Oh wow!
They thought they had me for sure. They're like, man, we were so sure this was the plane. When you diverted from Dallas, that was typical. He said, that's like typical drug runner, protocol. I'm like, man, I don't know nothing about that. All I know is I was a new pilot. I said, look, here's my phone. I showed him the text message. My buddy, come pick me up in San Antonio. I said, look, I just come to pick that right over there. He's like, all right. And so, but that was pretty freaky. You don't ever expect that when you land in an airplane. I promise you.
Yeah. What airplane was that one?
It was a Cessna Corvallis, basically a Columbia 400. Columbia had that hailstorm that destroyed a bunch of their stuff, and so they ended up selling out to Textron and turned the Columbia into the Cessna Corvallis for a while. And then they discontinued it.
Wow,
great airplane. The SR-22s just killed them though. It's basically a Cessna version of the SR-22.
Yeah, man, that's exciting. I bet your heart was racing when that happened.
It was racing a little bit but the problem is I just couldn't figure out. I thought right back, you got the wrong guy. You got the wrong guy. That's all I was thinking about. I was telling them, you got the wrong guy. I don't know what y'all are looking for, but you got the wrong guy. I ain't got nothing here but some dirty laundry.
That's hilarious, man. Well, Eric, thanks for sharing that story. Before we wrap up here, is there anything else you want to share with listeners and shareholders about the company? Anything coming up to look out for, or any events? What should we look out for?
Well, I would just say, right now I think the stock is in a good place. Of course, the market could get worse. The stock could go lower. But I think the valuation is low on the stock right now. We're executing our capital allocation strategy and buying back shares every week right now. I think we'll continue to do that. If it gets too low, I think we'll start buying large amounts like we did the last time it got down to 48. I think we bought about $3 million in the stock in a week, and it jumped back to 55 or something. I'd say follow us, be a little patient. We are opening. We have 14 projects in the hopper right now, including the casinos, a couple more nightclubs, and then expansion of our Bombshells brand. We sure went through a rough patch on the Bombshells with the slowdown, but they're still printing money. We're still making money everywhere. We're going to do a little over 60 million in free cash flow this year. Our goal for 2024 is to exceed 70 million in free cash flow. We have 9.4 million shares outstanding, and that's shrinking a little bit every day. So, our goal is to grow free cash flow per share at a 10 to 15% clip. Our 5-year CAGR rate was over 20% through COVID for the last 5 years. The 23 will be a little off year for us, I think, but because we just didn't have anything growing, and we closed our big acquisition that we just closed in March, closed a couple months late. So that had a little bit of effect on us, but I still think we'll be between 12 and 15, or between 10 and 15%, probably between 12 and 15% free cash flow per share growth. And I think we'll get back into the 20s in 24. So, but we'll continue to shoot for that 10 to 15% compounded rate year after year after year, which we've done since 2015 when we tapped our capital allocation strategy. So if you're a long-term shareholder, you got a long-term horizon 3 to 10 years, I think we're going to be a great return for you.
Awesome. I'm feeling bullish, man. When is the next earnings call?
Let's see. We'll put out the quarterly numbers, like nightclubs gross sales are on October 10th. And then the actual 10K is, I don't know if we have 70 or 75 days now. I think it's either December 9th or December 14th. I need to get with my CFO and get an exact what the deadline date is. We became an accelerated filer, but we're small accelerated filer. But we were very close this year to almost being a full accelerated filer. Then we would only had 45 days, I think, something like that. So right now, I still think we have 70 or 75. So it'll be early December for sure.
Gotcha. Awesome. We'll look out for that. Eric, thank you so much for your time, for coming on the podcast, sharing a little bit about what's going on with the company and your journey as a pilot. And hopefully we'll have you again on the podcast sometime.
Great. Sounds good. I'm available anytime you need me, Joseph. I really appreciate you.
Thanks so much.
All right.
This episode is brought to you by Vineyard Sun. Vineyard Sun is a local Austin company that makes quality sunglasses made from sustainable materials. You can see their styles on vineyardsun.com or follow them on Instagram at vineyard_sun.